Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and today we're going to be talking about Pokémon Pokopia. I'm finally going to be giving you my initial thoughts on this game and the overall situation surrounding this game, the sales, the controversy. I'm going to be telling you everything I think about what's going on, because it's pretty crazy, so that's what we're getting into today. You ever find yourself missing that Game Boy experience from back in the day, or want a better way to play games on your phone, or perhaps you want something interesting to even try on your Switch or Switch 2? Well, then look no further than GameSir's Pocket Taco. The Pocket Taco, as its name suggests, is a pocket-sized controller that you can fit onto your phone like a taco and get a Game Boy-like experience when playing different games on there, or you can even connect it wirelessly to your Switch or Switch 2 and play games in that way as well. It's a really nifty, pocket-sized controller that's certainly different from other types of controllers out there. I strongly recommend checking this one out by clicking on the link in the description below. So firstly, let me just say that the masses think Pokopia is amazing. It has an 88 on Metacritic, which is a very impressive score, one of the highest rated Switch 2 games so far. And perhaps what's even more impressive is the user score, an 8.4. And I think this is arguably more impressive because with Pokemon games, in general, there's a lot of controversy. And so you're going to get a lot of people who are going to do their best to downvote or review bomb, or just be generally unhappy about the situation, and so those kinds of things that lead to lower user scores. Yet Pokopia has a very high user score. And it's not just the fact that this is a Pokemon title that would lead to controversy here, but the fact that the game is a game keycard. A lot of people are unhappy about game keycards. There are people who are protesting game keycards, including Pokemon Pokopia. And what's concerning about this one in particular is that it is a Nintendo published title. And so it opens the door for perhaps other Nintendo published titles to become game keycards. Now, I do think it should be pointed out that this was developed by a third-party partner, Koei Tecmo. The team behind Dragon Quest Builders built this game, and so it's very likely it was ultimately their decision to make it a game keycard, and so this isn't necessarily an indicator that Nintendo-made games will be game keycard. However, for other partner projects, whenever a developer outside of Nintendo works on a Nintendo IP, perhaps then those could potentially be game keycards. We'll see. And there are a lot of people who are unhappy about game keycards because it's perhaps another marker that we're heading towards the inevitability of the game industry going full digital. Physical games are a dying breed, and people want to have physical games because when you have them, you own them. 100%, there's no doubt there. But with a game keycard, you have to download the game onto your system before you can even play it, and there is no guarantee that you'll be able to download this game onto your console forevermore. Not to mention, downloading the game is going to take up more storage on your Switch too. Of course, there are pros to game keycards as well that I think people overlook. The fact that it's better than your typical digital release because you do get your own case, your own physical cartridge. So from a collector's perspective, you can at least still have that. And when you plug in the game, it allows you to play the game. It's a key to download the game and play it. But that also means that you can share this game. You can let others borrow it, you can trade it in, you can sell it. These are advantages over a typical digital download. And while Nintendo has not guaranteed that you'll be able to download games forever, we do know that on the 3DS and the Wii U, you can still download games even after the eShop has been closed. So if you've previously purchased a game, you can still re-download it, even its DLC. And these consoles came out quite a while ago. The 3DS came out first back in early 2011, and you can still download the games. And I do think it should also be noted that in some cases, having the game downloaded onto the console is more advantageous than having it coming out straight from the cartridge. When a game is downloaded onto the internal storage of the Switch 2, it does load faster. This does help some games. I don't know if Pokopia needs it. It does seem to have a pretty simple visual style, but there is also a lot to this game, which we'll be touching on in a moment here because there are certainly things to say. A lot of people feel this game is really good, so much so that we're seeing some pretty extraordinary sales here. We're hearing that it's selling out all over the place. Walmart is actually issuing a second wave of pre-orders here because they ran out of their initial allotment. People are talking about how they can't find Switch 2s right now, and the overall implication is that Pokemon Pokopia is proving to be a serious system seller. People are buying this game, picking it up like hotcakes. And I suppose in a way, maybe this is not too surprising, because it's the combination of the Pokemon IP with an Animal Crossing style of gameplay. Two huge Nintendo audiences being brought together here. So from a perspective of sales potential here, it's huge, and so some people would say this was expected that it would be such a huge system seller. But I wasn't so sure it would be this big of a deal, because I wasn't sure if this would be the kind of game that people would pick up for the console. Because it's not like Pokopia is this incredible technical feat that showcases the full abilities of the Switch 2. It's not, but what it is exclusive to the Switch 2, and it's a very good game that has a lot to it, more than what many may have realized at first, and it's leading to a lot of people getting very interested in the game and picking it up. And so, the quality of the game, the allure of the game itself, with it being an exclusive, is why it's selling Switch 2s. You need a Switch 2 to play the game. And so the game is apparently doing really well despite the game keycard protests you may have seen online. But what about my own personal thoughts on the game? I'm usually not really that into cozy style games. So what do I think of Pokopia? Well, before getting into it, let me simply point out I have this goal to reach 60,000 subscribers. So if you find yourself enjoying my videos, I would very much appreciate your subscription if you haven't subscribed already. But yeah, I tend to struggle to enjoy games of the cozy genre. It's not that I haven't played Animal Crossing, I've bought and purchased a few, and I do enjoy them, but not for a long period of time. I may end up putting in 20 to 30 hours, and that's pretty much it. And for those who play Animal Crossing, you would understand that that's not really enough to get the full Animal Crossing experience. And so I understand that, but it's just kind of like a personal issue of mine where I can't really stay engaged in cozy style games for a while. Even Stardew Valley, I really liked. I really enjoyed that dungeon element. It made me more curious about what was going on, and I really liked the challenge of it. But even with that, I eventually fell off as well. And so I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about Pokopia long term, but I'll tell you this about my initial hours of the game. It's charming, it's tranquil, it's peaceful. For those who are into the cozy genre, it's right there. If you're someone who really likes games like Stardew Valley, like Animal Crossing, this is going to be right up your alley. But also, if you really liked the building element in Animal Crossing New Horizons, or what we've seen from Dragon Quest Builders, you're also going to really like Pokopia, because the level of customization, even early on, is kind of crazy. Like, you're pretty quickly gaining new abilities to terraform, break things up, throw in water. So you're already being given options to do different things to interact with the environment and change around the environment. And so I can already see a great level of customization already. There's already a whole bunch of things I can build and put around and collect, and I'm still only a handful of hours into the game. There's always something new that's coming up that I can use to interact with the environment or customize it even more so. And so at the very least, with Pokopia, there's always something to do. And I think that's actually a pretty interesting point to make, because perhaps for some people, like myself, when you're playing Animal Crossing, you may feel like there's really not that much to do in a particular day. With Pokopia, you can just keep going. You're never gonna run out of things to do. Which brings me to the Pokemon element of things. It's really interesting to see how you can continually find more and more Pokemon, how they have their own personalities and you're having conversations with them. And there's a social element to this. You're seeing the different Pokemon interact with each other, very much in the way you'll see the villagers interact in Animal Crossing, but it's Pokemon. So as a Pokemon fan, I really like the angle. But also, there is a deeper, more mature storyline going on here. There's little lore bits that you'll find, like in these notes, things said by the different Pokemon, what has happened to the people, what has happened to the environment. And so from that perspective, as a longtime Pokemon fan, I'm very curious about what's going on. That was something that kind of had me interested in this game before picking it up, and it is something that's kind of propelling me to stay engaged, even though I'm gonna admit, while there is always something to do, the things that there are to do don't necessarily appeal to me. I don't care that much about watering all the dry grass or moving around blocks so they can look kind of interesting. I'm doing it, but the game's already been out for about half a week and I've only put in a handful of hours. One, because yes, I've been busy with other things in my life, but also because I've been more engaged and interested in playing Resident Evil Requiem. And I'm not trying to say that Requiem is 100% for sure a better game than Pokopia. They are very different types of games, although I do feel like Requiem is a lot more up my alley, personally. That all said, as I continue to explore Pokopia and learn a little bit more about this game, there's an interesting world out there to explore. There's a mystery, there's an intrigue, which does have me interested, and as I said, there's always things to do and there's always things being added, and it's getting more and more interesting. I just recently unlocked the jump roping minigame with Bulbasaur, which is a simple thing, but is something that I enjoy. I like these kinds of minigames, I like the Pokemon interactions. I also find the humor in this game to be pretty good, even if sometimes it's not necessarily intentional, like when I was talking to Magikarp and he was talking about teaching me a new move, and I was like, oh, okay, what's he gonna teach me? And he was talking about hopping, and at first I was like, am I actually going to learn anything here? Like, I legitimately was thinking it was just gonna be a situation where I was gonna just have this same ability as before, where you could just walk up blocks and that's it, but it was actually a jump move, which is nice, but it just kind of goes to show that they're kind of putting in a lot of that Pokemon personality. There's an awareness there, and you're going to be running around and interacting with Pokemon, seeing them do funny and also interesting things, and so there's a lot here to discover and find. It's really cool how occasionally you're going to see like a giant legendary bird, you'll hear their cry, you look up at the sky, and they'll drop a feather. There's an intrigue there, a sense of mystery there. And so while at this point I can't say with certainty if I'm going to be playing Pokopia long term, if I'm going to be more into it than I have compared to other cozy games, but what I will say is that if you are a fan of games like Stardew Valley, like Animal Crossing, you're going to really like this. If you're a fan of games like Dragon Quest Builders, you're going to really like this. But if you're someone who's kind of on the fence, well, I'll at least say that early signs are promising. I'm kind of starting to see the vision here. And I've heard and seen some things, and it does seem like there's a lot more to this game. There's a lot more to discover and find. This game is apparently huge. There seems to be a lot here that will appeal to a large group of people, more so than just the Animal Crossing audience or even the Pokemon audience. There's a bit more here. And so, that's promising. But those are my thoughts on the overall Pokemon Pokopia situation thus far. At some point, perhaps I'll give an update on all the crazy things I've discovered and played through in Pokopia once they get deeper, but what do you all think? What do you make of Pokopia so far? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I will see you all really soon. Take care.